Good evening and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting, Cabinet of the 19th of August. A little bit of a housekeeping for those actually in the physical room. We're not expecting a fire alarm this evening, and should the alarm sound, please exit via the nearest exit and gather in the car park next to the library. If I could please request that all mobile phones and electronic devices are turned to silent. Please note that during this meeting we will be using hybrid meeting arrangements with officers and councillors who are not members of the Cabinet having the option to join the meeting via Zoom. We're also live streaming this meeting via the Council's YouTube channel to encourage more people to engage in our public meetings. Anyone attending the meeting remotely must use their raise hand function when they wish to speak and to declare any interests at the appropriate time. If anyone leaves the meeting or loses connection, you can continue by following the meeting on the YouTube live stream. So we start with item 1, apologies for absence.
No, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. To confirm as a correct record, the minutes of the Cabinet on the 14th of July, proposed by myself.
Happy to second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Disclosure of interests. If any member has a pecuniary or a non-pecuniary interest, if you could declare that, please. There are none noted at this moment. So we will move on to the first item. Item 6, Local Authority Designated Officer, the Annual Report. Councillor Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is to consider the annual report 2024-2025 of what we all know as the LADO, the Local Authority Designated Officer. In this case, Mr. Ivan Sullivan. And unfortunately not here this evening, but we have from Children's Services Becky along with us if there are any questions or any issues that members want to raise. So it is best practice absolutely to come to a Cabinet meeting so that this is endorsed and it can be published. It is, if I may say, a very comprehensive, very well written report and highlights the work of the LADO, putting it in the legislative context and the regional context, and records the work that he has been doing with his team over the last 12 months, or the 12 months to the end of March. So please, hoping everyone has read through. There has been a reduction in referrals to the LADO, but the number of incidents that meet the threshold for consideration has actually stayed the same. It's actually increased slightly. There is a breakdown of where those referrals come from. They are from those who are working in professional capacity or in the main from education or the Council Children's Services, some other voluntary organisations, but the majority of the referrals from education, some from our foster carers and some from children themselves. So we have tables there outlining the numbers, and as I say, this year slightly fewer referrals, but an equal, slightly larger number of referrals meeting the threshold for further investigation. I have suggested, as I've not been in contact directly with our LADO for a while and other councillors likewise, I have suggested to our Director of Children's Services, Nancy Mahan, sat with me, that maybe councillors who wish to look at this report in more detail meet with me and with the LADO, and we can go through any issues there is. There's an awful lot of information here that I think reflects the good work that the LADO does in keeping children safe. That is absolutely the key. I confessed to our director today that I hadn't been in contact with our LADO for some time, and she suggested that was probably, in the great scheme of things, not bad. you know, you do not want to be in regular contact as lead member for Children's Services with the LADO, because invariably he is taking up cases of safeguarding concerns. So there we go. The recommendation is, let me just find it a moment, it's here in the report. I think it's the key thing is that we endorse it. We endorse, let me have a look and read out the recommendation, that the local authority designated officer annual report 2024-25 be endorsed and published in accordance with council's colleagues will support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and I'm more than happy to second this proposal on the table. It brings it onto the table, which now allows us to move to questions. I'm going to move straight on to questions for anybody in or outside of the Cabinet. Councillor Long?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I just wanted to say what a good report it is, and thank everyone for all the hard work on this. I think my reading of it, which hopefully I've understood correctly, is that the numbers being referred seem to have stabilised a bit compared to last year, which is good news. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm not seeing any other hands, so I will come back to Councillor Bye if there's anything further to add, or I will move to the vote if not.
Yeah, the number of consultations, which is the referrals in total that have come to the LADO, has dropped a little from previous years, 410, 412 to 377. But we've gone from something like 30 from memory, from 30, I think, to 39 in those that meet the threshold for further investigation. And then within the report, it breaks down that the majority of those, thankfully, are ones that don't meet a further threshold for action. But there are a number of complex cases that are nonetheless still live and in the system, some with involvement with the police. So it is all there, and if Councillor Long and colleagues, Councillor Law I know isn't here today, want to sit down with me and the LADO, that offer is very much on the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I will move to the vote and encourage anybody who would like more information to contact our lead member for children, Councillor Bye. So all those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We stay with Councillor Bye as we move on to item 7, which is the Torbay Youth Justice Plan. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this again is a very comprehensive and I would say very positive report and looks forward. This is our Youth Justice Plan for 2025-2026, but it also covers the activities of the Youth Justice Service over the last 12 months or so. And absolutely, we are making progress in terms of seeing a decline, thankfully, in the blip that we had of first-time entrants into the Youth Justice Service, particular issues in the TQ3 area. That likewise seems to be behind us, and there is now a lower number of first-time entrants coming into the system and a more general geographic spread. So not just in one area of Paynton, but across the Bay, and in fact an area of Torquay now being slightly ahead. This feels to me, as I've explained, it's been to the Overview and Scrutiny Board, so it was endorsed enthusiastically, the Overview and Scrutiny Board. It has been through our own Youth Justice Board and supported the Youth Justice Board. A draft has already been sent to the National Youth Justice Board because their requirement was to have sight of it before the end of June. So colleagues, I think, have already seen it and endorsed it and supported. It feels to me much more than just an annual report and a refresh. It does contain a very strong vision. So our lead, not lead member, I'm the lead member, you're the director. Let's get this right. I am purely the lead member. We have our director sat with me, who is now the chair of our Youth Justice Board. This new plan has been worked out very much after successful away days that were held some months ago, also with the voice of young people and feedback from those who are involved with our Youth Justice Service. There's a little bit I would like to read out from the Chair's forward, and like to recognise the achievements of the service over the last year, specifically maintaining rates of children who reoffend in both the pre-court and statutory court order areas, particularly true for the new prevention turnaround service, where early data shows that 81% of children accepted the programme did not go on to reoffend. So top marks for the prevention turnaround service. Significantly reduced the number of first-time entrants, which I've already mentioned, coming into the service through the increased focus on both prevention work and diversion work with the new police intervention clinic and out-of-court resolution panels. Delighted to note that in 2025 April this year, Devon and Cornwall launched their new Child First Policing team for South Devon, a slightly wider area than just Torbay, and this has pulled together resources for dealing with children into one team and will reduce delay in investigation and therefore resolutions of youth crime, and children who are missing early results are positive. So we're working very happily and closely with the police. Very much welcome that. We're also making progress on our premises just across the road. So those who've been following the progress of our Torbay Youth Justice Service know that there's been a hunt for premises. Numerous premises have been looked at and discounted, but we have identified the premises over the road, just the old angling fishing shop, I think people would know them as, in the ground floor premises that the council already owns. So progress there, like all these refurbishments, more work has been encountered than we originally hoped, but that should be sorted by the end of the year. Hopefully by the end of the year. I think that fingers and toes crossed. So we are making progress with our Youth Justice Service. If there are any questions, we'll be very pleased to listen. But I do want to say thank you to John Ralph, who sat with us this evening, who with his team, I think, are making great progress in this important area of work. They were commended in the Ofsted area inspection as being an area of the council's activities who work well effectively with children, in particular with special educational needs and disabilities. There's a wealth, absolute wealth of information in the report that shows so many of the youngsters who are involved with the Youth Justice Service are from areas of deprivation, those who've been excluded and suspended from school. So it's very, very linked with what we are doing in children's services in terms of the improving SEND agenda and working with schools to encourage fewer suspensions and exclusions. But I'm happy to take any further questions. As I say, it has been to overview and scrutiny, who warmly supported it, and it has been through our own local Torbay Youth Justice Board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Call on Councillor Lewis to second.
Yeah, I'm very happy to second and acknowledge the improvements that are taking place. So well done to the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Open up for questions or comments. Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And whilst welcoming this report, I just have one question, which is that I understand that this report is required to be submitted by the end of June, and it's been to our Children and Young People ONS in July and now here in August. And whilst I heard Councillor Bai say that a draft had been submitted in June, I was just wondering what the implications are of the report being officially submitted in August. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? So I'll come back to Councillor Bai.
You may well have heard the director whispering that, as far as we're aware, there are no implications. We had to submit the report before it came to overview and scrutiny and to Cabinet to maintain funding streams. And we very much assume that they are happy, as members around the table are happy with the progress that we are making. If it was to be altered or any suggestions for alteration by the Cabinet or over your scrutiny, then obviously we would send that up the line. But it's been so far warmly welcomed, and I very much hope that it is warmly welcomed by colleagues this evening. I should have mentioned, but there we go, I'm sure you all read it, absolutely the plans, what we're looking to focus on for the next 12 months, to be looking forward and to carry on, particularly in working with education colleagues to reduce the number of children being excluded and suspended, because we know, unfortunately, when children are, then they are most likely to end up in the need of services of the Youth Justice Service. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And let's find out if Cabinet are supportive of the document. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's move across the table now to Councillor Tranter as we look at the Adult Social Care Local Account Summary.
Thank you, Chair. This report represents Torbay's Adult Social Care Local Account Summary, providing an accessible overview of the service's performance over the past year. It reflects our commitment to transparency, accountability and continuous improvement, setting out adult social care has supported residents, setting out how adult social care has supported residents, responded to challenges and delivered positive outcomes. The local account summary summarises how adult social care has helped 2,700 residents with complex needs, supported nearly 6,000 carers and driven forward innovation and transformation despite financial and workforce pressures. It includes key achievements such as increased satisfaction levels, improved safeguarding outcomes and a successful reablement pilot, while acknowledging areas for continued focus and development. By drawing on data, case studies and the voices of people who use our care and support, the report highlights the real-life impact of our services and outlines priorities for 25-26. These include expanding reablement, strengthening support for carers and preparing for future regulatory inspection. Produced in collaboration with stakeholders, partners, people who draw on care and support, as well as the adult social care workforce, this document represents an open and honest account of where we are, the progress we've made and where we are heading. Cabinet is asked to note the local account summary as a key tool for public accountability and ongoing improvement. The official recommendation is to consider the report that sets out adult social care local account summary, providing an overview of the service's performance, achievements and challenges over the past year. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm happy to second this from the chair, and I would particularly draw members' attention to page 157, which is the chart of if Torbay was a village. It really does put down in simplistic terms some of the key highlights in Torbay. Regrettably, we remain the most deprived local authority in the southwest, and that little infographic there really does show some of the statistics across Torbay. So if you read nothing else of the report, please head to page 157 and inwardly digest. At this point, I will open up to any questions from the Cabinet. I see that we have Councillor Douglas Dunbar, who's the Shadow Cabinet member. Pass across to yourself for any thoughts or comments.
Thank you very much, Chair. I had just a couple of thoughts. It was really just clarification, I suppose. One was I would have quite liked to have seen something about what this replacement care is going to look like, what it will look like. And the other burning question was about personal assistance. Just how are they managed and how are they quality assured? I mean, they go in and do a one-to-one. I just really wanted to know more about that particular, if I may, please.
No problem at all. Councillor Long?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I welcome this report, and just wanted to say it's good to see in the report the focus on direct payments, as I know that this was picked up in the council's own self-assessment, that this was an area that needed attention, and I think the fact that this is being focused on should be good news for the CQC inspection, as it shows that we're being prepared to find out where we are potentially less strong, and that we're focusing on improving them. So that's good news. And I was also pleased because, of course, Torbay is unique in having its integrated health and social care arrangements. And I'm pleased to see that both the council and the Integrated Care Board, sees this as the best arrangement, according to the report, for services, and that there is a transformation programme to ensure that this arrangement works for both health and social care. So it's good to see that in the report as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Any further questions? In which case we'll come back to Councillor Tranter. I think there were two issues. Reablement, I think it was. Yeah, reablement and personal assistance. Thank you.
I believe it was replacement care, not reablement.
My apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. So we're going to work in co-production with carers around that, and that's why there's no details at the minute, because that work is yet to be done. It's just starting. The PAs, personal assistants, that is part of the transformation work. That is, we've got Lee Baxter, one of the deputy directors, working on that and working how we're going to go forward with that, and how we are going to, what was the word you used? Oversee. How we're going to make sure that it's done in a bit more of an organised way. Yeah, that's absolutely all part of the transformation work that we're doing. And again, with the direct payments, it's all part of the transformation work and working with carers and anybody that needs adult social care, and educating the workforce as well in helping people make informed choices about what care they can get if they do take direct payments. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's move to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Let's stay with Councillor Tranter as we move to item 9, which is the Homelessness and Rough Sleeping Strategy, the Action Plan. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. So Torbay Council's Homelessness and Rough Sleeping Strategy, approved in December 24, sets out the strategic direction for addressing homelessness across the Bay. It complements wider policy framework, including the housing strategy and domestic abuse and sexual violence strategy. Following a stakeholder engagement session in February 25, attended by 45 representatives from local organisations, a collaborative action plan was developed to implement the strategy's priority objectives. These priorities include preventing homelessness, improving housing standards, supporting independent living, and fostering community wellbeing. The action plan aims to strengthen the sector cohesion, improve communication and data sharing, and establish clear accommodation pathways. A performance framework will be developed to track progress through both quantitative and qualitative measures, supported by cross-organisation and council dashboards. Progress up until the end of Q1 has been included in the action plan. The action plan will be delivered and owned by the Homelessness and Rough Sleeping Forum, of which the steering group has been established, with the next full forum meeting taking place in September following the summer holidays. The aims of the forum are to strengthen collaboration across the homelessness sector, ensuring a unified and well-informed voice, lay the foundations for effective data sharing, communication and coordination to prevent and respond to homelessness in Torbay, develop a clear housing pathway and ensure consistent, accessible support is available across all services, provide focused leadership and clarity in delivery of homelessness-related work, enhance strategic alignment across... Sorry, the microphone's threw me off there, sorry. Enhance strategic alignment across council and partner initiatives, recognising homelessness as a complex issue requiring joint solutions, which in turn will help deliver the strategy. This plan has been supported by the Adult and Health Scrutiny Subboard, and progress against the action plan will be overseen by scrutiny on a quarterly basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Billings?
Thank you, Chair. Well, as Councillor Trans has explained very comprehensively, this is the action plan following the homelessness and rough sleeping strategy that we approved at full council back in December 2024. And I would draw members' attention to the information at pages 235 and 244, which go through in significant detail to show the specific ways that the points that Councillor Trant has been describing to Cabinet will be implemented. And clearly, homelessness, a very important matter. It's very impactful on those that are homeless, but it also has wider impacts on our town centres and the ability to make Torbay the best place we can. And so for all of those reasons, we owe it to our community, whether they're directly impacted by homelessness or just the other impacts that flow from that, to do all we can. And that's why I'm so pleased to second this tonight. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We move into questions, comments and debate. And move across first of all to the Shadow Cabinet Member, Councillor Douglas Dunbar. Any thoughts?
Thank you, Chair. I just really thought it was a very comprehensive report, plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments around the table? Councillor Tyerman.
Thank you, Chair. I thought I'd just add that I was fortunate enough to attend that meeting in February, that where the community got together, and I think it was very pleasing to see the breadth of involvement and the real wish and determination from all people representing all parts of the voluntary sector. It was well represented by the police and others, and I think there is a real wish and a real determination to actually make an impact upon what is actually a very difficult area to impact, at least difficult to impact quickly. I think it is a long-term strategy that we have in place. We'll be looking at action plans on this now. We'll be looking at them again year after year after year, I'm sure. But I think the wish is there to make a difference. And I am also very pleased to see the breadth of actions that are being talked about. But I think we have to realise that that's a lot of involvement from a lot of people and a lot of work to make all those bits happen. It's going to take quite a lot of management to make sure that the best is obtained through that. And I wish all our staff and all our officers well in actioning that in future years.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just prompted by something that Councillor Tarman said, which is that I understand the action plan is going to be reviewed also by the Adult Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Board, which I think is, which is for the first time, I think that's been agreed. So I think that's very good as well. So lots of eyes on this very important strategy. The other thing I was going to say, I hadn't realised we had a new cabinet member here tonight, and just interested to know what portfolio they have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was just about to pick up on that particular item. It is here within our decision 3.2 that Adult and Health Overview and Scrutiny Subboard be requested to track the delivery against the action plan on a quarterly basis. It was a request that came through from Overview and Scrutiny Subboard and from a Cabinet. We're happy to include that within our decision this evening. So recommendations are there: 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. Sorry, I was just about to go to the vote. I never went back to Councillor Tranter. How very remiss of me. My apologies, Councillor Tranter. Apologising for trying to sum up for you.
That's okay. I was just going to remind everyone of the recommendation, which is to consider a report that seeks approval for the homelessness and rough sleeping strategy action plan for Torbay.
Thank you very much indeed. Much more succinct than myself. Can we move to the vote? All those in favour, please.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thanking you. We move on to item 10, which is the acquisition of land for the delivery of affordable homes. And we move across to Councillor Tyerman. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. You'll remember that when we set the budget some 6 or 7 months ago, there was an allocation in there of 1.2 million for a contribution towards affordable homes. At the time we set that, we didn't have a fixed view about how that would be used. I can assure you that if I had 10 times that amount to spend on affordable homes, we could find things to spend it on. So what's come forward here is an opportunity that we think would be well fitting some of that 1.2 million. Piece of land in Brixham is been put up for sale, and officers identified that if this land were to be sold on the open market, because the size of it would probably produce less than 14 or less than 15 units of accommodation. It would probably have no affordable house content, and we felt that by securing this at this time by the council, we can make sure that that piece of land is developed in a sort of manner that meets our housing need, an affordable housing need, rather than a general market housing need. For that reason, we looked at this piece of land, we looked at what we can do with it. You will see that there is an example in the exempt appendix of what could be done with it. But I want to emphasise here at this table that there is no specific plan to produce or to develop it as that appendix said. But before buying any piece of land, it's very sensible that we look at the officers look at it and present to me, as they've done, the fact that we can develop it in a viable manner, and that exempt appendix shows that we can. So at the moment, all I'm seeking is authority from this cabinet to purchase that piece of land, and we will be asking officers to bring forward at the earliest convenience details of how we think we can use that to the best effect. I see that as probably being a few months away before we'll have a clear picture of what we want to do with that piece of land, and we're at the moment only defining that it has to be for affordable housing. That's the restriction that's being put on at this point by us in making that purchase. So that's basically all we're asking to do. Do you want me to read out the proposal as it stands?
That's fine, thank you. Perfect.
That we provide, make sure I got this right. Yes, we provide delegated authority to the Director of Finance in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Housing and Finance and the Director of Pride in Place to acquire on appropriate terms the site identified in Exempt Appendix 1 from the 1.2 million revenue reserve allocated to support affordable housing and agreed by Cabinet and Council in May 2025, and that the Director of Pride in Place bring forward proposals on how the site will be developed at the earliest opportunity.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Bye, I have you down as the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm absolutely delighted to second this. This is very good news for Brixham and very good news for the wider Bay. Potentially 14 more affordable homes. And I'm just going to read something out, but my iPad is packed up. But it is absolutely within money already earmarked by the council. And I just wanted to read 7.3. It should be noted that the council has obtained a Red Book valuation which supports the value agreed for the site. As such, it represents good value for money and is commercially supportable. So that's in the public document. It is supported by a Red Book valuation. So we are getting good value for this money, and families in Brixham hopefully will have more opportunities for accommodation, affordable housing. So delighted to support.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to debate. Can I just remind members around the table and outside of the Cabinet that we do have 2 exempt appendices in here. So obviously we can't discuss these in open Cabinet, and I would like to stay in open Cabinet rather than have to go into closed session. So let's move across to the Shadow Cabinet Member, Councillor Cowell, please.
Thank you, Chair. And in welcoming this acquisition, that's no need to stray into Part 2 territory on either of the agenda items tonight, I don't think. It's important that when we get the opportunity to identify land that otherwise could fall into private development, we actually seize the opportunity ourselves, because we know that we have got a significant housing crisis in Torbay, particularly in the area of social rent. And whilst I acknowledge that options for delivery are to be confirmed and to be evaluated, I would sincerely hope that we would have a significant part in the delivery of those new units, which are, as Councillor Bye alluded to, very much needed in Brixham. So happy to be supporting this acquisition.
Thank you,
Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor. Any further comments or questions from the room? Nothing in the virtual room either. So I will move back to Councillor Timon to sum up. Thank you very much indeed, in which case we will move straight to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. We move on to item 11 and we stay with Councillor Timon as we look at the turnkey acquisitions for social housing report this evening.
Thank you, Chair. In many instances in developing housing, the council sets out with a plan to achieve something. The proposal that I'm bringing to Cabinet tonight actually has come about not through us seeking it, but a sort of opportunity that has presented itself to us. There are 2 developments that have been undertaken by private developers with the intention that they be sold on open market basis, where we have got into discussion with those developers and are now proposing that we make purchases on a turnkey basis of finished developments in order to, once again, move them away from being market to being affordable housing, and therefore move them into a position where they are supporting our housing need. These 2 opportunities, one in Paignton, one in Torquay, would enable us to add an extra 18 units of accommodation at social rent, and would enable us to have those up and running and occupied, we believe, well before the end of this year. That's excellent news as far as I'm concerned, because it allows us to actually do something positive to actually tackle need today, not in 1 or 2 years' time. These have been offered to us at prices that officers consider is beneath the level that one would expect to see such properties if they were being sold on the market, and beneath, once again, Red Book valuations with a with a significant discount to us on these purchases. We would not, of course, be making them if we couldn't make this work financially. We can, and the information provided in the exempt appendix demonstrates that, and you will have had an opportunity to go through that and see how the finances work and how The borrowing that we are proposing for this is fully supported by the rent. These two sites were brownfield sites before they were redeveloped, and as such they fit within the authority given by council recently for £20 million. So this will not require any new borrowing. It will come out of that 20 million, and therefore it fits with the accommodation repurposing project, and therefore does not need any further agreement through council. So tonight is a decision of bringing back these to Cabinet to give authority to proceed. I think the other thing that when we take any sort of opportunity like this is you look at which category of our housing need it will suffice or it will meet. In this instance, what I'm pleased to say to you is that we believe that a significant part of these 18 units, we believe 11, would be ideally suited to fit families who are currently in temporary accommodation. That will have an enormous impact. Well, I say enormous. We've got about 70 families, 60 or 70 families in temporary accommodation. So, but if we can move 10 of those into this property, it will be a significant impact upon our housing need already being looked after at significant cost by the council. So the cost benefit of this purchase actually looks very attractive. The only thing we need to put in place is the usual due diligence that we would do in making any purchase that will need to take place. And we are also dependent upon getting Homes England funding. The signs for getting that are good, but you've never got it in the bag until you've got the offer from them. So we have two conditions. Assuming those two conditions are met, we would like to go ahead with this purchase. If I read out therefore where we are, because this one's a slightly longer.
Can we take the recommendations as read?
You're very happy to take
yeah,
recommendations as
there
read.
are 5 in total. They're on page 285. And I think everything that you've spoke about encapsulates those recommendations.
Delighted to do that, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anything else to
Nope.
add? Okay, thank you indeed. In which case we'll move across to Councillor Lewis, then to second.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. Very happy to second, and it is really a good news story. 18 new homes for those people in the Bay most in need. So well done to Councillor Timon and the team for coming up with this scheme that, as you quite rightly say, Councillor Timon, makes financial sense to go ahead with it. So thank you. Very happy to second.
Thank you very much indeed. Look to move to questions, comments. Councillor Bye first, and then I'll go outside of the Cabinet.
Thank you indeed. And can I just say congratulations to our housing team, particularly the housing delivery officer, because here it says that we're making a purchase, potentially this purchase, at beneath the Red Book value. So someone is clearly a very good negotiator. It's good value. I'm absolutely delighted to support this. 2 points that my colleague Councillor Timon hasn't mentioned, but particularly excited me, and this is the intention of some of this accommodation will be for care experienced young people. And I think that's the first time that the council has, in a report to Cabinet or full council, specifically mentioned accommodation for care experienced young people. Certainly we recognise the need. So at 2.6, the business case assumes rehoming of households, particularly families, so good news for families, currently living in temporary accommodation or care experienced young people. And then 2.9, there's a number of dots that the bottom bullet point, if you put it that way, is the proposal supports several key local and national strategic aims, provision of accommodation for care experienced young people. So absolutely, as lead member for Children's Services, I'm delighted to see that in the report, and I will keep housing colleagues to their word, and that some of the accommodation at these two properties will be available for care experienced young people. We've got the YMCA coming on stream with their SHAP project, and some of that inevitably will be for youngsters who are care experienced, but some of this will be specifically for care experienced young people, and that is very, very much needed and very welcome indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's move outside of the Cabinet. Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Chair. Again, welcoming these acquisitions. I mean, if you can't find land to build this kind of accommodation, then what better than to buy ready-made properties that we can actually move people that are most in need as quickly as possible. I note that the intention is to move on from temporary accommodation, but I have previously pointed out that those that are in our temporary accommodation under the scheme that was up and running a couple of years ago, some of those families may actually be settled in their communities with their kids at primary school or in local employment opportunities, and I think it was recognised at overview and scrutiny that that may be something that needs to be considered in terms of the allocation of these properties in question tonight. It is self-financing, which is always encouraging and should ensure that our 151 officer can sleep easy at night, or slightly easier, and he shakes his head, and if he had more hair it'd be even greyer. But the only note of caution that I would point out to colleagues is that where we think that this may actually have a significant impact on the temporary accommodation budget, the sad reality is in Torbay we have a constant supply and chain of people needing temporary accommodation, and until we can get to that quantum, that the kind of temporary accommodation that we have to issue to people and allocate to people is away from the private sector, then we will always have a pressure on that temporary accommodation budget. But absolutely encourage and support the proposals eloquently put forward by Councillor Timon. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I see Councillor Long indicating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and happy to support, as Councillor Cowell mentioned, and also the previous item as well. More than happy to support. I can't remember if it was this report or the previous one, but maybe both of them absolutely highlighted the housing crisis that we are in, and we have 1,600 households, that's not people, that's households on the waiting list, as well as the people on temporary accommodation as well. And I'm going to say what I said at the last Cabinet meeting, which is, whilst these schemes are absolutely welcome, we could have had 50 affordable homes at Preston Down Road by now, but that scheme was ditched, and it would be good to know when we might have the promised news about Preston Down Road. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further hands, so I'll come back to Councillor Timon to sum up on this report.
Yes, I think I'll make one comment, and I think that all we can as a council do, and all councils anywhere can do, is take a step forward at a time. I think the size of the housing crisis, the size of the housing list is such that it's almost impossible when you look at it at any point in time to see how you could ever get that down to zero or remove the demand completely. Every step in the right direction, I think, is valuable, and that's where I intend to keep pushing that we go.
Thank you very much indeed. We will move to the vote then. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Conscious of the fact that we haven't heard much from Councillor Lewis this evening, so we'll rectify that immediately by moving to item 12, the Torquay Town Centre Place Vision. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. happy to have a bit more say at this cabinet meeting. Torbay regeneration, the vision for Torquay, and to put the minds at rest of those people who live in Paynton and Brixham, they will be having a similar document in the autumn, so something for them to look forward to. But this is about Torquay tonight, and what is it? It's a vision for Torquay, and it's a vision that shouldn't be kept on the shelf. It's a living document that can be changed. And what is it for? It's a marketing document to encourage investors and others who want to be part of the journey changing the face of Torquay. What it is not, and this came up at the overview and scrutiny meeting, what it is not a planning document and shouldn't be seen as such. We are at the moment going through the local plan working party and soon to have a draft on the local plan, new local plan going forward. So this is not part of that local plan. It does have maps in it and agreed, but it is more as a marketing tool rather than part of the planning process. This vision, Mr. Chairman, shows the regeneration that will take place in Torquay, changing it for generations to come. Consultation has taken place on this vision, on the separate items, and of course further consultation will take place once it goes through the planning process. As I said earlier, the vision is also a changeable vision. It is not set in stone. There will be additions to this vision for Torquay, like, for instance, the town centre site and others which may come forward. The regeneration projects stated in this document are those recommended by our partners, Wilmot Dixon and Milligans, the experts on regeneration of towns and cities. We promised, Mr. Chairman, to deliver on the major projects, and we are delivering. If you look at Union Square, shown in the document, it's in for planning and being consulted on as we speak. And we hope to have a decision in September, October of this year. The Strand public realm is completed. A few things to be dealt with after the summer, but up and running and being enjoyed by visitors and residents alike. The Debenham site, an extended area. When 2 years ago, when we inherited the Debenham site, we looked at it, we spoke to people, units came up for sale, and we thought it was prudent to make that site larger, and that's what we're doing at the moment. We hope to be able to have it into planning in October of this year. The pavilion now in our ownership, and work inside has already commenced to find out what is needed to make it wind and watertight and to get it going. So we are. It's no longer just a vision, but also a reality, delivering for the people of Torbay. This vision seems a change in the high street. What we haven't done over the years is reduced our high streets in this country. We've seen the introduction of the internet where a lot of people do their shopping. We've seen the influx of out-of-town shopping. So this vision shows the reduction of those shops, especially at the top end of town. And we are looking to, in Torquay, to make it a mix of retail with homes, making not only shops but homes, bringing people into our town centres to make it more vibrant, more attractive to live in, and more appealing to those that visit the Bay. This vision is the start of great things for Torbay. I hope it will be part of it and follow us in the journey. And the recommendation as outlined, I will read it briefly, it's not as long as the one for Councillor Timon, and of course it has been changed. Following the recommendation made by overview and scrutiny, we've included Kerry Green into the recommendation. So I will read it out for members and the public. That subject to including Kerry Green as a green space for public realm improvements, Cabinet approved the use of Torquay Vision document as set out in Appendix 1 to steer both the delivery of current regeneration sites and the development of future proposals for the sites and areas of public realm identified by the vision as suggested priorities. 3.2, that delegated authority be given to the Director of Pride in place to make minor amendments to the vision in consultation with the Leader of the Council, noting that any proposed substantial amendments will be presented to Cabinet for approval. So I'm very happy to propose this, Mr. Chairman. I think it will change Torbay for the better. Thank you.
Thank you indeed. And I'm delighted to second this, to be honest. I think it's important, and we can't stress this one enough. This is not a planning document, and there are pages in here that you would expect to see in a planning document, but this is not a substitute for the local plan. Interestingly, when I was at UK Reef, developers and interested parties want to know how all of the sites stitch together. What does it look like? How does this site interact with that site? And it's very difficult to have that conversation without the kind of document that we have before us this evening. So the sites that are included in here are all sites that we've spoken about. Some of them we've put some considerable time, effort, and drawn up detailed plans to bring some of those sites forward. They're all included in here, but it does enable us to show to interested parties as almost as a sales brochure that how this site interacts with the next site. So as I say, absolutely delighted to second this document, and I'll open for debate. Any debate around the Cabinet table? Councillor Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm absolutely delighted to support this and to see that we've got to the stage that vision is no longer a dirty word in Torbay. And the key when you have a vision is that individual projects are seen to be part of something much wider. So you're encouraging investment from the private sector, or it may be from government or whoever, but that they see what they are doing on their project is not a standalone project, but it contributes to the wider regeneration and renewal of the place. We used to have a vision, and when that was binned, some of us with professional colleagues got together and calculated we'd lost at least 400 million of inward investment, perhaps nearer $1 billion if you add up all the schemes that might have taken place but didn't take place. But I want to celebrate those that did and highlight two where the vision was absolutely crucial in securing the investment. The first was what's now known as the Geo Play Park on Paignton Seafront. I remember at the celebration that followed the opening of that, the funder said to me quite categorically that they would have walked away because of all the obstacles, all the difficulties, and you remember opposition at the time, that it's just a distant memory now, it's a great success, but they would have walked away had it not been a part of a wider vision. And the then Regional Development Agency, with whom I worked happily and closely, made it absolutely clear that the funding for the Fish Quay in Brixham, which I remember signing up to, and again that has been a great success, had to be a part of a wider vision for the regeneration of Brixham. And goodness me, that is what it's resulted in. So much of what was in the vision in Brixham, at least, came to part in terms of private investment around the harbour and waterfront area of Brixham. So the vision is to get the investment, and so that those who invest in the bay, whether the public sector or the private sector, and I think most of this is aimed at the private sector, will feel that they are part of something much bigger than their individual projects. It is an excellent document, and I very much hope that everyone can rally round and support this vision for the future of Torquay, and I look forward to supporting the visions when they come for Paynton and Brixham and the wider vision for Torbay. But I very much hope that it gets buy-in from all colleagues and no visions end up in the bin in the future. That would be very disappointing indeed. If we get so far, we want to follow through. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Move outside of the Cabinet. Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm not clear whose vision this really is. For example, ward councillors for the town centre were not consulted until after the vision had been put together. Residents have not been consulted, and it's not clear which businesses have been, as clearly not all have been. As Torbay Council has become officer-led over the past 2 years, I very much fear that this is an officer vision rather than the vision Torbay as a place has put together. I'm also concerned about the communication that there has been in the media about this report. For example, reports in the media refer to existing derelict shops. And I wonder, what does that say about existing businesses in Torquay? Some, like Nexus Games, serve customers that other businesses don't, and I fear that the promotion of this report, as in the local paper, is in danger of actually damaging existing businesses where people have invested their savings rather than actually helping. Key sites have also been left out of this report, for example, Tor and the Brunswick Square area. Does the council really have no vision for the top end of Torquay? Just because the council isn't involved in regeneration schemes itself doesn't mean that there isn't the possibility of private investment if marketed properly. I fear by leaving parts of Torquay out, the council is abandoning certain areas. As colleagues know, I often look at the equality impacts reports, and I have one query. On page 322 of the equality impacts regarding sexual orientation, reference is made to no adverse impacts, and I just wondered if I could have clarification about what adverse impacts are. Whilst this is the Torquay vision, other parts of the bay are mentioned, for example Paynton, and specifically Paynton Harbour. I fear that Paynton's minds won't be put to rest, as Councillor Lewis said, as Paynton Harbour is brought up at overview and scrutiny and has been by ward councillors. Businesses at the harbour have asked for the council not to reference Paynton Harbour in council documentation, as this is a blocker to private investment, and I'm just wondering why this is still in the report after representation has been made. And much has been made about delivery this evening, and actually nothing has been delivered as of yet, which is very telling as we are more than halfway through this administration's term. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Chair. When I challenged last week the overview and scrutiny, the process that had been undertaken to arrive at the adoption of this document tonight, it was clearly made known that this is not a supplementary planning document. It's not a supplementary or a replacement for the community-led town centre master plan, or indeed the Torquay neighbourhood plan, on which that master plan, from which that master plan emerged. Whilst I welcome and acknowledge that some new faces have been engaged during this process, that should be in addition to those that we would normally talk to, i.e. in particular ward councillors would be novel, and also the community partnerships and also the Torquay Neighbourhood Forum, who, whilst they acknowledge that this is not a planning document but is a marketing tool, would have been
It would have been gracious if they had been informed that their hard work of the last 10 years or so was now going to be marketed in such a way. As part of that process, elementary mistakes like leaving Kerry Green out of the green sites would have been avoided. And just a little thing, I've just picked up on page 57 that we've now got Factory Road in Torquay rather than Factory Row. Again, if this document had been shared at an earlier stage with opposition members and our community and our neighbourhood forum partners, some of these issues would have been avoided. One of the other issues that I highlighted in the same vein as Councillor Long talks about Tor, which is miles away from here, well, at least 50 yards up the road, the very building and complex that we're sat in is also noticeable by its absence as a potential site for development. So whilst I was challenging this recently, it was made clear to me that it's because the site is so complicated and there are so many obstacles to developing it that it would not be of interest to potential investors. Well, it has been in the past, and I know markets have changed and the economic situations have changed, but given the opportunities that this vast site around the town hall and the town hall car park could offer, I would have thought it would have been a bookend to the seafront and harbour opportunities as well as this end of the town. And if we talk about buildings and sites that are in the document that the Neighbourhood Forum had explored in terms of including in their town centre master plan and the neighbourhood plan, we look at the BT building. The BT building, we've always been told, is not available. The BT or Openreach or whoever owns it currently, because of the infrastructure around that building, whilst years ago when it was first built, you had lots of people pushing leads in to connect people into big switchboards, it's now much higher tech. So how can we now be including the BT building? I absolutely welcome it. It's a building that really needs to be invested in, and clearly we now know something that opposition members aren't privy to. I welcome any opportunity to market Torquay, Painting and Brixham for economic regeneration, but let's make sure we get the process with our community on a much firmer footing and not sideline them, because they are the people of Torbay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further comments from around the room? In which case I'll come back to the Cabinet. Councillor Billings.
Thank you, Chair. Two excellent points made by colleagues sitting behind me, who did an even better job than I did tonight in finding the odd typo in the document. In 416 pages we have before us tonight, I think colleagues correctly spotted, as I did, Factory Road instead of Factory Row, and advance instead of adverse. So well done. You beat me in that game of tennis, colleagues. What I would say in relation to this is that we have an outstanding document before us, and clearly, as we go forward as a council on a collaborative basis, we can add to that. We've got to start somewhere. This seems to me a great place to do that. It sets out broad things. We can populate that with further detail as we go forward, and indeed that would be the right thing to do. I think pausing now and not making progress, bearing in mind we've all tonight spoken about delivery, probably wouldn't be what our community were wanting us to do. So that's my thoughts, Chair. Hopefully that's helpful and adds to the discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. I think the opposition members are missing the point. This is a marketing document, a vision that we wish to deliver on. We have consulted with our partners, Wilmot, Dixon, Milligan, the experts. If Councillor Cowell is an expert on these things, he seems to be very amused at what I'm saying. If we ask our experts, Wilmot, Dixon, Milligan, which sites do you think would be easier to come forward? Which sites do you think we can raise private investment for? They give us the sites. They say to us, do not include difficult sites across the board, because you won't get them across the board. However, if you link up with the sites and the ones in Paynton, you're more likely to get an outside investor investing in them. Of course, if someone came along and said, we want to invest in the town hall, we would consider that. But you know as well as I do, Councillor Cowell, that that's been on the table for nearly 20 years. And I don't see people queuing up the door to invest in developing the town hall. What we are doing is finding that people are interested in Union Square. They are interested in Lower Union Square, the car park. They are interested in the pavilion. They are interested in Debenham site. How much further do you think we want to go? And I'll say to Councillor Bye, when he talks about a vision, and we don't want to see it in the bin, that vision has already started and we are progressing. Councillor Long says, what have you done over 2 years? What on earth did you do over 4 years? We are cracking ahead to get it going. We will have crossways built. We are going to planning with Union Square. We've moved an enormous amount over the last 2 years. Over the previous 4 years, when you were the administration, you left absolutely nothing. When we leave, we will leave something. Just look at Old Way, scaffolding going up. How long's that been on the table? No action over 4 years. The pavilion, we managed to get it back into council hands. So please don't give me on a lecture that we've done nothing over 2 years. We've done an enormous amount and we will do more over the next 2 years. And when we're re-elected in 2 years' time, we'll progress and we'll look at those sites because we will have delivered on the ones that we said we would. Mr. Chairman, I get a bit heated on this, but I think for the first time for many years, we've got a vision that we're going to deliver on. And I think that's good news. And I don't like to hear negative points on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Let's move straight to the vote then, please. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Move on to item 13, which is the budget monitoring, revenue and capital outturn Q1. Councillor Timon, please.
Thank you, Chair. The revenue and capital outturn reports seem to keep coming forward meeting after meeting. Here we are again. This report has, as usual, been to overview and scrutiny with the ability to receive comments, and it will, after tonight, be going on to be discussed at council next month. Two things really the report covers. One is the situation in year on the revenue budget, and then it looks at the capital budget with additions and amendments to the capital programme. If I deal very quickly with the revenue side of it, which is not a thing to come to council, it's just for Cabinet to note. This report is suggesting that we are moving towards an overspend of 785,000 by the end of this year. That is raw data. I think that all of us round the Cabinet table would find it very unacceptable to think that that's where we will end up at the end of the year. And I have already initiated quite a lot of questions and requested further information on why some of these overspends are occurring and what we're going to do to mitigate against that situation. And I'm pleased to say I almost didn't need to do that because officers had, in advance of that, already picked up on pretty well all the same points and were already asking the questions amongst themselves and the directors making inquiries from members of their team. I hope to be able to bring news that we've impacted upon some of those when we consider the Q2 monitoring report in about 3 months' time. If I then move on to the capital side, the paper includes a number of amendments to the capital scheme. Most of those have come out of decisions to now increase the budget with amounts of grant funding. There are a couple of fresh decisions needed, and therefore part of recommendations that we will be making here through to council. The prime one of those is to, in regard of some borrowing, to enable Swissco to enhance their fleet to the tune of £2.5 million over the next 2.5 years. And the other specific impact in there is to add to the programme £3 million from levelling up funds to enable the delivery of the Torbay Tech Park and the acquisition of land. Again, that is funding that will be coming out of grant, but we need to increase the capital programme. All these recommendations will be taken and presented to council, and I think I will, rather than go through them in detail here, we will be going through them in detail to council. You colleagues will have had a chance to read through the report, identify the individual makeup, and therefore I'm just going to seek tonight that we, as a cabinet, make the recommendation to council that are in 2.3, 2.4 and 2.5 on the report, and that I think is enough for my introduction.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor. Seconder, Councillor Jackie Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm happy to second the Budget Monitoring, Revenue and Capital Outturn 2025-2026 Q1 report. I believe Councillor Timon has explained and presented this in great detail, so I don't really have any more to add. So just happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments around the table? Move to the Shadow Cabinet Member. I almost called you Minister then. Councillor Cowell.
Chair, those ambitions went many, many years ago. Clearly Q1, it's early days, and from experience we all recognise that first quarter often shows an uncomfortable trajectory, which over the course of a year, normally in Torbay, because we have a firm handle on our finances and have done for a few years now, any potential overspend turns into a potential surplus, and I would be hopeful but not complacent that we may be in the same position next summer. There is one particular area which I did raise at overview and scrutiny, which I think is of continuing concerns, and that is the pressure on legal services, where we see a forecast outturn which is 25% higher than its original budget. And what's even more worrying is that when you consider that the budget that was set for legal services in 23-24 was around 1.3 million, we're now looking at a doubling of that legal services budget to 2.6 million. And I know it's something that the Overview and Scrutiny Board have said that we want to continue to monitor and understand what the recovery plan is to bring that more in line with its £2 million budget that was agreed in February. I understand the pressures that are around legal services, and it's not unique to Torbay, but we cannot continue to let it go unchecked, which I know officers will not permit, and indeed the Cabinet member responsible, Councillor Timon. I raised again also the point that the tables within the budget report and outturn report contradict the budget digest. I don't seem to recognise that they have been modified to reflect the budget digest. So therefore, I think at some point we need to understand why 3 areas of spend do not align with the budget digest, which is obviously the base budget following the council decision on the budget back in February. Moving to the capital programme, I also pointed out that we only ever include in the capital programme those projects that are fully funded and deliverable and have gone through the process of agreement with Capital and Growth Board and all the other sort of decision-making processes that arrive at a situation where a capital project will be included in that capital programme. I note Edgenswell continues to be there, even though that we do not have the funding for it as much as we want to see Edgenswell delivered. And clearly we will continue to do it. The good thing about leaving Edgenswell in that document is that I'm talking about it tonight. If it wasn't in the document, it would slip off the radar and people would stop talking about it. That's also why I've always been saying that anything in the pipeline for the capital programme needs to be included as an appendix to this document so that everybody is clear what are the projects we are looking to bring forward for inclusion into our capital programme. So I hope that that will be adopted in the future. It's something that we've asked for repeatedly in the past, and I look forward to that coming forward in the Q2 budget outturn report. Other than that, it's a document that is a statement of fact. And I thank officers for their continued efforts to control the budget of Torbay, which is so important when we're arguing our case for local government reorganisation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further comments from around the room? Come back into the Cabinet. Councillor Billings.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Cowell's entirely right. We need to continue raising the case of Edgenswell. It's something I've raised repeatedly, I think, at every single Peninsula Transport meeting with colleagues from other councils from across the region. And it's by us continuing to raise it that ultimately will ensure that it's delivered in the shortest period of time. It's also right that we continue to raise the importance of a robust rail network coming down from London to our area that is resilient in the face of climate change. And I look forward to working with all members from across the chamber in ensuring that that's the view that we provide to government and collaborating with other councils that are this side of Teignmouth and Dawlish in ensuring that is the view that we provide to government, and I'm sure all members across the chamber would endorse that approach. So very much aware of that point, but I'd like to reinsure that. I just also, seeing as it's in here, I'd like to say how pleased, seeing as it's in my portfolio, about the funding for Swissco. Everyone will appreciate the importance of having a reliable service, certainly in terms of their rubbish collection, and we're fortunate in monitoring reports in other circumstances to be somewhere between 90 and even higher 90% collection rate, and that's only obtained by having the right vehicles to enable our hard-working staff to be able to do the work, and clearly having old, unreliable vehicles is not the way to do that. That causes a failure demand with vehicles constantly needing to be leased and excessive service requirements on them. And that's why I'm so pleased for the provision that's in here. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Back to Councillor Tyman to sum up.
Thank you. I think that I'm quite happy to let it go, apart from the fact that we will be getting officers to look and see if the discrepancies that you mentioned, and if we can get those sorted, I hope we can get those sorted before it comes to council, we will do so. Or if there's nothing wrong, at least have an explanation. So with saying that, then I'm happy to take this forward and look forward to a more detailed discussion on things like the Swissco vehicles when it comes to council in, what are we, about a month away.
Thank you indeed, Councillor. In which case, let's move to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 14, which is a review of the Cabinet Capital Projects Working Party Terms of Reference. Easy for you to say. This is quite straightforward. I'm going to move it from the chair. This has come around about a request from opposition members to extend the remit of the Cabinet Capital Projects Working Party to include regeneration. And therefore, the change will be twofold. It will now be called the Cabinet Regeneration and Capital Projects Working Party, and its remit will to receive detailed briefings on the Council's overarching regeneration programme and the Council's work with its regeneration partner. As I say, a request for opposition members. Clearly, we're doing so much work on regeneration that it needs to be shared wider, and I'm delighted to be able to accept the request that's been brought forward, therefore a slight change to the terms of reference. Councillor Tyman.
Yes, I'm happy to second that, and as I chair that meeting, it makes absolute sense to make this change. I think in discussions at the meetings we were touching into and delving into including this anyway. But I think that the fact that it's now there will give a greater focus and make sure that those regeneration aspects are dealt with as a more robust, discrete part of the agenda at those meetings.
Thank you very much. Any comments? In which case, I am going to move to the vote on this one. All those in favour, please indicate.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. That is our final item on the agenda this evening. So can I thank you very much for your indulgence. And at 18:57, this meeting is closed. Thank you. Good night.